Hi guys, Will here from WB Trading and welcome back. Really great to have you back here on the channel, and I've got something really exciting to share with you today in the form of an interview with a trader called Thomas Wilson, who I've had the pleasure of being able to work with over the last coming up on 1.5 years now. This is a trader who I've mentored one-to-one across this time period and who trades every single one of my strategies alongside me and who's achieved some massive results in the process, as you're about to hear about within the interview itself. So let's dive straight into the conversation. We recorded this just yesterday via Skype, and within the interview we cover everything from where Thomas was within his trading before he found me, the impact that trading mechanically has had on his trading career and performance, what advice Thomas would give to a trader who's still stuck where he was originally, and much more on top of that. With that, stay tuned, don't go anywhere, and let's get into the interview. So yeah, let's dive into it. So tell me a little bit about where you were before you found me.
To be honest, I would say a little all over the place. I think I had the enthusiasm that a lot of newer traders do, but didn't really have any of that direction, to be honest, Will. So it was a case of making, I suppose, what are familiar mistakes in terms of strategy hopping quite a bit. And I would also say probably my expectations were a little high going in. I do think that happens with a lot of new traders. So you're expecting to be instantly profitable. You're expecting, that it's going to come quite easy to you. There's going to be a little bit of work, but I don't think anybody really appreciates the amount of work, and I certainly didn't. So yeah, it was a little, I'd say, lost in the wilderness almost. Not really knowing, because there's so many options, there's so many people trading different strategies, there's so many different pieces of advice. It's very difficult, I found it anyway, very difficult to find something that I could kind of relate to and build on.
Yeah, got it. You were strategy hopping, false expectations, didn't know where to start, and I guess that leads me to asking where you actually found me.
Yeah, I think I'm looking back. I think the first point I found you was looking through Twitter, and I think when I'd started trading for a bit and decided, okay, I've read a few books, I've watched a few YouTube videos of various people. It's not really clicking. It would be good to actually speak to someone, one-to-one, a real life person, not just, read a book that's kind of tailored for trying to fit as many people as possible, or watch a YouTube video that, is maybe quite old, or it's very difficult, obviously, to ask questions based on the subject of the video. So I thought there's going to be no substitute really for trying to find somebody to speak to who's been through what I'm trying to go through, to give myself a little bit of confidence that, okay, it can be done, and maybe work at my pace. So that was the first thing. I think the point at which I found you was like, okay, he looks fairly similar to me. It was a bit of familiarity to say, okay, this doesn't seem a million miles away from where I'd like to be in the near future. It doesn't seem to be somebody that is, running a 8-figure trading account or something silly like that. That's not going to have the same goals as I had. It's somebody that started part-time, progressed up to full-time trading. Not somebody that's kind of made it in a couple of months either. Yeah. So all those boxes and kind of reservations that you see, or that I felt from certain traders, to be like, they're not going to have, or they're going to have different goals to me. They're going to approach trading from the start very different to how I've approached it. Kind of put me off. Whereas what I've seen on your page, kind of like what I'd read in, looked the type of person that I think could relate to where I was.
Yeah, I guess it was kind of the relatability and the kind of real lifeness about it, really.
yeah, it didn't seem to be, I'm sort of in air quotes, a fairy tale story.
Yeah.
To be like, somebody that's just turned, £1,000 into a few million in 6 months or something. Because I kind of knew, for the people like that, they're not actually going to be able to teach me what they did. The lightning doesn't strike twice. I need to be realistic about my goals, and here's somebody that, from what I'd seen on the page, had realistic goals and had been in a similar situation to me. So could probably relate and understand where I was trying to get to.
Yeah, so it was the relatability that made you act and actually join me and make a start.
Yeah, it seemed very realistic, to be like, okay, that's somebody that, I can definitely relate to.
Yeah, okay. Well, let me ask you another question. So how have things changed since you actually joined me a year or so ago?
I think first off, I've kind of learned really to streamline and focus where my trading was going. So I've definitely appreciated, I would say, the type of trading that works for me. It's given me a lot of confidence to go, okay, I can actually trade around a full-time career. There are strategies I can implement. I would say beforehand, my trading was kind of predominantly focused to trying to cram it in on a Friday after I finished work, and then do a bit of testing over the weekend, and then wait to the end of the week again, following on, without really any focus on the midweek stuff, because just being at work, I was out of trading hours. This has brought me under a case of, okay, I can do a little bit before work, I can catch that market open with some of the strategies that we've worked on, and then the longer term strategies that really I didn't even consider beforehand, I've been able to apply on an evening, within kind of like where I am the rest of my life, and successfully as well. So it's brought me a new, view to trading. Wasn't anything that I was trying before, so I didn't really even consider it. And also, I think, there's definitely the consistency there now. There is less emotion in my trading, whereas before, yes, it would be a case of I'd cut winners quickly. A classic problem, I think. I would have doubt in entries for trades, whereas adopting a more kind of mechanical trading approach with the strategies that we've worked on has taken that emotional bit out. And that was, I think, one of my, and I think probably for a lot of newer traders, a bit of a weakness, because nobody likes to see, 3 or 4 losing trades in a row. You do start to get nervous, and if you don't have any confidence in the strategy, and some of the strategies I was trading beforehand, I didn't have a lot of confidence in. So once that happens, I just decided, okay, we'll move on to the next strategy.
Yeah.
I've maintained the ones that we've worked on through the last year, and as you know, kind of developed a few more, but developed that with the kind of back testing that I wasn't doing before. So
fantastic, understood. So what you're saying really is that you were held back by the usual mistakes, and you were initially trading with discretion and struggling, and you felt the breakthrough came when you joined me in trading mechanically. And what you're saying is that really finally turned everything around, right?
Yeah, it was something, well, I'd say completely new. I mean, I definitely felt trying to come across some trades where there were less rules, and it was more about kind of my ability to try and find those areas of the market to trade in that I really struggled with. Taking that bit out of it and just knowing the strategy to apply, it was fairly black and white. Certainly at the start, when we kind of started on the pound dollar and started on the DAX strategies, it helps immeasurably to say, okay, right, I know where my target's going to be, I know where my stop loss is going to be. I'm not going to beat myself up at the end of the day if, it's hit the stop loss, because this is what the strategy is telling me. It's, I've tested it, it's worked.
Yeah.
There will be days where, okay, we're going to get a few losses. That's fair enough, but also we're going to get days where we're going to get big wins.
Absolutely. I mean, just like Tuesday, where we had the just below 9R win on DAX, straight into another win on Wednesday as well. A really strong week for us this week via DAX.
Yeah, just like this week. You know, so I suppose yes, it's a good time to revisit those to say, you do get those couple of days where it's like, okay. But I think the main thing for those strategies at the start was I decided to look over a longer period of time and say to myself, okay, yeah, you might have a week where you're going to be a few R down by the end of the week, but 1 week isn't going to make or break your future trading career. You know, people who have succeeded aren't going to walk away after a week, whereas before I felt like I was on certain strategies. So it gives me that confidence, and I think that's that's grown on me in terms of the new strategies that I've worked on and that we've looked at over the past year. And yeah, I've got that confidence to say to myself, okay, I can accept those small bad runs, to say to myself, okay, overall, I've tested it, I've got some confidence, and I'm going to let this play out. Yeah, we're going to take a bit of a rough patch every so often, but overall, the strategy's been proven to work from all the back testing that I've done. And I just never did that before.
Yeah, got it. So what's helped you grow really and to build your own strategies is due to the mechanical nature of them and the being able to literally see the black and white data and the proof that the strategies actually perform and so on.
Certainly. I mean, if I look at where I was in terms of journaling trades before we started working together, it's come on leaps and bounds. The data that I've recorded now for every trade makes it so much easier to review. And there were times in the past where, I've just basically put down the bare minimum to track where I was. And then looking back over the past 50 trades was almost impossible to try and tell if there were any areas for improvement. Whereas now, okay, it does take the time to record everything, but I've got it there. And I think over the past year, that data has certainly helped cut out some, I would say, pretty serious mistakes that I would just have never noticed. I would have just blocked out before.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's what that data does. It's really, really revealing. So let me ask you about the last year of applying the strategies, because last year, 2019, was your first full year solely using the strategies that we trade together, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I think I'd have started on the pound dollar just before the start of 2019 and DAX just around the start of 2019. In general, for those two as the sort of term strategies, I'm trying to find a word to describe it. Excellent, really. It really did, over the course of the year, we got some rough patches and things, but to end up where I was at the end of the year was, I would say, it exceeded my expectations of where I was at the start of 2019. And that was bearing in mind that the first month or so, first couple of months on those strategies, there were still some mistakes there that I made, which is natural, just learning it. There is, I think I've made those gradual little steps forward over the months to, really be a lot more confident now trading than I was at the start. And the added bonus is, yes, they've paid off and been very profitable over the last year. But it has also helped to say, okay, give me a bit of confidence to say, okay, let's try and find my own. And I know we've touched on a few of them recently, certainly over Christmas this year as well, to try and add to that, maybe look at a few new markets. So it's more of a case of I've tried to keep moving forward with the strategies that we're working on and take something that's been proven on one market over one time frame to see where else it will lead. I think, for kind of the traders that are actively trying to do that with those kind of strategies, they'll get the most out of it.
Definitely. No, it's great to be able to carry them into other markets as well, isn't it?
Oh, of course. I mean, that's the thing. It's sort of, okay, for somebody that's kind of at work full time, like myself, the shorter time frame ones, so your DAX and your pound dollars, to be able to apply them before I'm starting the day at work, and really to have most of those trades closed out before I'm starting at work. It takes the weight off having to try and manage a trade live through the day when you've got other commitments and things, which is a big boost. And I think that was probably one of the big reasons to say, at the start of last year, okay, these strategies could really work for me. It removed the frustration of trying to juggle working full time and managing some trading opportunities. So it opens up to say, what else can we use it on other markets, what other time frames? But really, for somebody that is I suppose, restricted by the commitments during the day-to-day time, it works quite well.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, I agree. I'm glad that you're happy, Tom. And the strategies are great for people with day jobs because it means that you can either execute before work and head off to work, or trade the longer term strategies after work in the evening. And obviously you do both yourself. What would you say to other people who are listening to this and they've seen the strategies that I offer, they're not too sure about whether they work or not, despite all the live trade videos and so on and so forth, and they're wondering whether to join us in trading the strategies? What would you say to them?
I would say, I can understand why people would have reservations. It is a different form of trading to what I suppose many people can find if they're looking for, beginner's guides and whatnot. For anybody that's at work like I am, I think it's a real benefit to have something that you can really close out, or at least start. Most of the time, close out these trades before you start in your day. It's a huge help. Having a mechanical strategy has kind of taken the management side out of it for the most part. There is some thought process to go into it, certainly, but it does take away that problem of scouring the markets all the time. And if that's a problem that someone's finding because they are at work, then this goes a long way. It won't help everybody, but this goes a long way to solving that problem. It has for me anyway. In terms of anybody that's looking at, say, the longer term strategies as well, I was kind of in the position of thinking when I'd started, okay, let's try and focus on intraday strategies, let's get a day-to-day profit and loss going, really get some momentum and ignore anything that's quite long-term. So particularly the day one swing strategy that we work on, I've kind of done a whole 180 on that thought process now. In terms of actually having a strategy that's much longer term, it helps a hell of a lot when you're doing work on a weekend. You're not stressed into planning it out. It doesn't take you 10 minutes to just quickly search through the market. It's something that is a drawn out process. And again, it's something that doesn't require a huge amount of management. It wasn't, I think when we first discussed it, Will, I wouldn't say against it, but I was pretty apprehensive about taking a strategy that was on a daily chart. So really, if you're kind of like the same, if somebody's out there thinking, no, intraday stuff is for me, I would say you're missing out on something there, because yes, you've got to be a bit more patient. You've got to let these trades run. We might be sitting in trades like this for, I would say, a few weeks. I think the longest one for me last year was around 8-9 weeks. But that was a big payoff. That was a plus 10-hour trade. You're not taking many either, so it does give you the flexibility to look for the really, really good opportunities on the weekends, after work, if you've got a full-time job as well.
Yeah, and in fact, on the topic of hold times, what was that 12-13 hour trade that you just had a few weeks ago? Was that zinc?
That was a live cattle market trade.
Live cattle.
So yeah, that was, I would say, one of the best trades of last year on that strategy. I think as well, kind of like the flexibility. I know for you, Will, you use that in quite a lot of markets. I'm limiting myself at the moment to just a few commodity markets on that. So yeah, if somebody's really focused on trading, the FX markets or just some indices, something like this where you're not tied down to one single market. If somebody is at the moment, then gives them an opportunity to branch out a little bit. And it's, when I started, before we started working together, I didn't trade anything but Forex. That was all I looked at. And now, I do. I've traded a few equity trades using the swing strategy, but certainly on your buys, bars, and on the swing strategy as well, moving into the commodity markets and a few indices has really opened up to, it's led to a few new strategies for me that we're working on at the moment.
Yes, indeed. Brilliant. Well, one last question for you. So where do you think you might be now if we'd never met, if we'd never started working together and you still never knew that mechanical strategies even existed?
To be honest, Will, I would be quite surprised if I was still trading. In terms of, it's certainly at kind of like this level, I think I probably would be still at the point of just trading on a Friday afternoon, doing a bit of work over the weekend, and I would hate to say it, but darting between strategies and probably making the same mistakes. I do think there's a huge difference between just looking at YouTube videos or reading some trading books compared to speaking to somebody that's been through what you're trying to go through.
Yeah.
It is ridiculous. It's a huge difference, and I think until you actually kind of speak to somebody and take some time, well, get some real advice, get some advice that fits you. You're just going to really be stuck in a bit of a rut. I know some people have done it. I can appreciate that some people will be able to pick it up on their own, but for most people, I don't think there really is any compromise on getting somebody that's got some experience behind them to give you a bit of a nudge in the right direction. And yeah, it might be on something as simple as, yeah, you're right, just looking at mechanical strategy that I'd never really thought of before. That might be a perfect type of trade for you. If you're out there to say, okay, I've tried all the different kind of things, I've tried all sorts of moving average trades, I've tried Fibonacci levels, whatever. It's just not clicking. It's something new, but without finding somebody that's probably gone through the same problems that you've gone through, it's going to be really difficult, and it's going to be demoralising to solve them. I would say it's comparable to trying to learn to drive without having a driving instructor. Just sitting in a car and trying to work it all out for yourself. It's going to be immensely difficult. So yeah, it might take you a while to find a mentor that fits your style and things, but in general, I think that even outside of just the strategies part, learning how to backtest, getting some motivation to do your journaling correctly, focusing on some clear goals, not darting around and making those classic mistakes that a lot of new traders make. You've got to find somebody to just give you that boost to say to yourself, okay, this is my plan. I've got some down-to-earth, realistic goals. I can find somebody that's been through the same problems as I have, and it gave me a huge amount of confidence to say, okay, I might be making some mistakes still, but I am moving forward, and if I've got a problem, if I've got a question, there is somebody there that will help me instead of just blindly looking around for an answer yourself.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, Tom, congrats on your first profitable year last year. It's been a real pleasure to be able to work with you and to help you become consistently profitable by sharing the strategies. And here's to hopefully many more years working together.
Of course, mate. Cheers.